everyone. Welcome back to another exciting deep dive where we help you build workplace skills that can really, take your career to the next level. I hope you're all doing fantastic.
Oh, I am so thrilled to be here for this one. This is such a critical topic.
It really is. So let's just jump right in with a scenario. Picture this. It's Monday morning.
Okay, setting the scene.
Right. A manager sits down at their desks, they've got their coffee, and they're just trying to mentally prepare for the week.
The classic Monday morning struggle.
Exactly. So they open their inbox, and right at the top, there are two leave requests.
All right.
The first one just says, "Hi, sir. Need leave tomorrow. Reply fast."
Oh, wow. Just hearing that makes my blood pressure spike a little bit.
Right. The cortisol just hits immediately. It's jarring, it's demanding, and it puts the manager right on the defensive.
Because it genuinely creates a physiological stress response.
Yeah.
I mean, you're taking your own urgency and basically weaponizing it against the recipient.
Weaponizing it. That is a perfect way to put it.
Yeah.
Now, compare that to the second email in the inbox.
Let's hear it.
The subject line reads, "Leave request for 15th July, Rahul Sharma."
Okay, already so much better.
Right. And the body says, "Good morning, sir. I would like to request leave for tomorrow due to a medical appointment. I have completed my pending tasks, and my teammate will handle any urgent work during my absence. Thank you for your understanding. Best regards, Rahul."
I mean, the difference there is just night and day.
Completely.
The recipient goes from feeling, attacked and stressed to feeling respected, informed, and reassured. All the friction is it's entirely removed from the interaction.
And that friction, or the lack of it, is exactly what we are unpacking in today's deep dive. We're taking a really hard look at the mechanics of digital communication, specifically workplace email.
Yes, and I think it's important to note we aren't just giving you a basic list of do's and don'ts.
No, absolutely not. Most of you listening already know better than to, start an executive briefing with, "Yo, boss."
Exactly. Our mission today is to explore the underlying psychology of why certain emails fail spectacularly while others succeed. We want to show you how to systematically engineer your emails to build serious career capital.
Because it really comes down to mastering what the source material calls the digital handshake.
The digital handshake. I love that framing.
Right. In the physical world, you wouldn't just kick open a conference room door, yell a demand at your manager, and then sprint away.
I mean, I hope not. You establish a social contract first. You greet them, you provide some context, and you navigate the whole interaction with respect.
Exactly. Email etiquette is just the digital translation of that social contract. It's a tool that manages cognitive load for your colleagues and really builds deep professional trust.
But before that digital handshake can even begin, you have to get the person to actually extend their hand.
Which, in the inbox ecosystem, means they have to literally open the message first. So let's start at the very top of the funnel, the subject line.
Oh, this is where so many people drop the ball.
They really do. Because when a professional looks at an inbox with, say, 100 unread messages, they aren't just reading down the list. They're performing high-speed triage.
Triage is the perfect word for it. The subject line entirely dictates priority.
Yeah.
You're competing for the scarcest resource in the modern workplace, which is attention. So when you send an email with a vague subject line like work or update or just hello,
Ugh, just hello is the worst.
it is. You are fundamentally failing to respect the recipient's time.
It's like walking up to a coworker, handing them a locked mystery box, and just walking away. Nobody has the cognitive bandwidth for a mystery box at work.
Right, because I don't know if I need to open it right now because the servers are on fire, or if I can just ignore it until Friday because it's a lunch order.
Exactly. I have to expend mental energy just to figure out what you even want from me.
Which is incredibly taxing. A well-engineered subject line does that cognitive heavy lifting for them.
So instead of a vague update, you write what?
You write, weekly project status update module 3 completed.
Yeah.
Or instead of just typing important, you write, invoice submission requires signature by June 26th.
You are front-loading the exact context they need to make a rapid decision. But, I do want to push back on one thing here.
Go for it.
Because this is a debate I see constantly online. What if something is genuinely hair-on-fire urgent? Say a major client is threatening to pull their account.
Okay, a real crisis.
Yeah, a true emergency. Isn't labeling the subject line with the word urgent in all caps the most efficient way to get their attention? I mean, I want them to drop everything.
It's a really common instinct. But if we look at how the brain processes information under stress, leaning entirely on the word urgent actually backfires.
Wait, really? How so?
Well, when you just write urgent, you trigger the recipient's amygdala, their threat response, without giving their prefrontal cortex a roadmap to actually solve the problem.
Oh, wow. So they know there's a fire, but they don't know what room it's in.
Exactly. So they open the email in this state of blind panic. And by the time they read through the whole thread to figure out what the emergency actually is, you've wasted precious seconds.
And spike their anxiety for no reason.
Precisely. If you write urgent, client X server down, they instantly know the severity and the domain of the problem. They can immediately loop in the right tech team.
So context is what actually creates speed, not panic.
100%. You are managing their reaction before they even open the message.
That makes a ton of sense. Okay, so let's assume we've nailed the subject line. They open the email.
Step 1 complete.
Right. The very next thing they encounter is the greeting, which establishes the immediate tone. What I found fascinating in the research is how the greeting sets the boundary of the relationship.
It absolutely does. The greeting is like the initial eye contact of that digital handshake.
Yeah.
The data points heavily toward leaning into professionalism, especially when communicating outside your immediate peer group. So using things like, "Dear Miss Gupta," or "Hello team."
But where I see professionals often trip up isn't just in being overly casual, like using "hey" with 2 exclamation marks, or "hi dear," which obviously cross professional lines.
Here is a huge red flag.
It's so awkward, but the real mistake is misjudging the baseline intimacy of the relationship.
Say more about that.
Like, if you start a highly formal email to someone you joke around with on Slack all day, it feels passive-aggressive. But if you start a first-time outreach to a VP with, "hey," it feels totally presumptuous.
Right. It's a very delicate balance. The issue with overly casual greetings in formal settings is that they assume a level of intimacy that hasn't actually been earned yet,
Yeah, it forces a casual dynamic onto the recipient.
which immediately puts them on the defensive. When in doubt, it is always safer to default to polite formality.
Because you can always relax your tone as the relationship develops. But man, it is very difficult to recover professional distance once you've been overly familiar.
It's nearly impossible.
Okay, so we've navigated the subject line triage, and we've established the right social boundary with the greeting. But even a perfectly labeled, politely greeted email completely falls apart if the actual body reads like a ransom note.
Oh, the wall of text.
Yes.
No.
We've all opened those emails that are just a solid block of text. No paragraphs, no bullet points, just a massive wall of words. I physically recoil when I see that.
We all do.
Yeah.
And that physical recoil is literally your brain rejecting the cognitive overload.
It's just too much all at once.
Right. Busy professionals simply do not have the patience to decipher a novel just to find a single action item.
Yeah.
This is where the structural discipline of the message becomes so critical.
And the structural discipline that really stood out to me in the source material is what we can call the rule of 3.
Yes, the anatomy of a perfect email.
It's incredibly simple, but so effective. First, you have the opening. You state exactly why you were writing right out of the gate. Like, I'm writing to share the weekly project update.
Boom. Instant context.
Exactly. Second is the body. This is where you provide the necessary details, but concisely. The first 3 modules have been completed. The remaining 2 modules are scheduled for Friday.
Nice and clean.
And third is the closing. You explicitly state the expected action. Please let me know if you have any feedback by Thursday.
Setup, context, action. It respects the reader's time by creating this predictable rhythm.
But alongside that structural clarity, we also really have to examine the psychological weight of the tone, right?
Oh, absolutely. In written communication, we are stripped of all the nonverbal cues we normally rely on to signal our intent.
Right. There's no warm smile, no softening of your voice, no relaxed posture. You just have the words on a screen.
And without those cues, people inevitably default to assuming the worst.
Yeah, it's the negativity bias in text communication. Like if you walk up to a colleague and cheerfully say, "Hey, send me the report when you get a chance," it's a totally friendly interaction.
But if you type, "Send me the report," with a hard period at the end, it reads like a cold dictatorial command.
It really does.
The human brain just tends to read neutral text negatively.
Right.
Because of that bias, politeness in email isn't just about good manners. It's actually an operational necessity.
That is such an interesting way to look at it.
The research specifically contrasts a demanding tone with a collaborative one. So instead of writing, "You made a mistake," which triggers immediate defensiveness.
You're right. I noticed a small issue that may need correction.
Exactly. And instead of "send the file," it's "could you please send the file?"
I understand the theory there, but let me play devil's advocate for a second.
Sure.
In a hyper fast-paced environment, let's say you're in the middle of a massive product launch, or you're working on a chaotic trading floor.
High stress, high speed.
Right. Doesn't adding, could you please, and I notice a small issue, just bog down the machinery. If everyone's an adult and everyone's super busy, shouldn't bluntness equal efficiency?
Yeah, it's a very common trap.
Hmm.
People equate bluntness with efficiency all the time. It might save you typing time in the micro timeline, but it costs you massively in the macro timeline.
Okay, walk me through that. What do you mean by macro timeline?
Let's trace the causality. If you bluntly tell a key stakeholder, you made a mistake, their ego is immediately threatened. They become defensive.
Naturally.
Right. So they might argue with you. They might intentionally drag their feet on the revision just to be petty. Or they might complain to another department head.
Wow, okay, so you've essentially created a massive political problem that didn't need to exist in the first place.
Exactly. You save 2 seconds by skipping the phrase, "could you please?" But now you have to spend 2 hours or even 2 weeks repairing a fractured relationship.
And managing the fallout of their defensive reaction. That is, yeah, that's wild when you put it like that.
Politeness is really just the lubricant that reduces friction in a corporate system. When there is less friction, the actual work moves much faster.
That reframes the entire concept for me. Politeness isn't about just being nice. It's literally preventative maintenance for your professional relationships.
Yes, 2 seconds of typing prevents hours of damage control.
All right, so let's say you've engineered this beautifully structured, perfectly polite, frictionless email.
The perfect message.
But the fastest way to completely undermine all that authority is by rushing the final execution before hitting send.
Oh, the unforced errors.
Exactly. Let's talk about context collapse and the intrusion of text speak into professional emails.
This is where self-sabotage really runs rampant.
Yeah.
People do all the hard work of structuring the argument, but they stumble on the basic formatting.
We spend all day firing off texts to our friends with abbreviations, BTW, LOL, because, ASAP. And the temptation to just let that bleed into a work email is huge.
It's muscle memory at this point.
Right, but doing so triggers what sociologists call context collapse. You're using the casual language of a weekend hangout right in the middle of a digital boardroom.
And beyond just the jarring change in context, it's really a matter of signaling theory.
What does it signal to the recipient?
Well, when you use texting abbreviations or allow blatant grammatical errors to slip through, like the classic, "I receive your mail" instead of "I receive your email," you're sending a very specific signal about how much you value them.
Right. It signals that the recipient wasn't worth the extra 3 seconds it takes to just type up the word because.
Exactly. It essentially says, my time is so valuable that I'm going to take these lazy shortcuts and I expect you to just decipher my mess.
It's an incredibly arrogant signal to send, even if you did it purely out of laziness and meant nothing by it.
That's why the 1-minute review before hitting send is the cheapest insurance policy you can buy for your professional reputation.
Just take 60 seconds.
Check the spelling. Read it aloud to catch awkward phrasing. And critically, ensure you spell the recipient's name correctly.
Oh, spelling their name wrong is the worst.
Misspelling someone's name is an instant credibility killer because it just screams carelessness.
It really does. But, if we're talking about carelessness, we have to address the ultimate pitfall. The absolute classic blunder that we have all committed at least once.
I know exactly what you're going to say. The phantom attachment.
The phantom attachment. It is a universal human experience. You write, "Please find the attached document." You craft this brilliant argument. You hit send and...
The document is still just sitting right there on your desktop.
Yes. And then you have to do the dreaded walk of shame. The awkward follow-up email that says, "Oops, forgot the attachment. Here it is."
It feels like a minor annoyance to us when we do it, but if we look back at the cognitive load we just discussed, you've actually interrupted their workflow twice.
That's true. They read the first email, they search for a file that doesn't exist, they get frustrated, and then they have to process a second email.
You force them to expend energy on your mistake.
Hmm.
But let's take it even a step further. Even when you do remember to attach the file, the name of that file is a micro interaction all on its own.
Oh, file naming conventions? Yeah.
The research highlights the stark difference between a clean file name, like Project Report June 2026.pdf, and a chaotic one like Final to New Last Final with its version 3.pdf.
I honestly look at file naming like digital hygiene. Attaching a poorly named file is like showing up to a high-stakes interview wearing a wrinkled, coffee-stained t-shirt.
Huh. That's such a good analogy.
You might have the most brilliant financial model in the world inside that spreadsheet, but if the file is named Book 1 Finalus at the Zone, it instantly diminishes your authority.
You are essentially transferring your own digital hoarding and messiness directly onto their computer.
Exactly.
When you name a file clearly, you are telling the recipient, I respect your time and I'm making it effortless for you to save, search, and retrieve this file 6 months from now.
It says, I've organized my thoughts so you don't have to. It's incredibly powerful.
Truly.
Okay, so the email is perfectly crafted, it's sent, the attachment is actually there, and the file name is pristine. We've mastered the outbound communication.
The first half of the battle.
Right. But a massive part of this entire ecosystem is how you handle the incoming flow. So let's pivot to inbox etiquette, specifically the timing of responses.
Response times. The standard guideline here is the 1 business day rule.
Right. Acknowledging important emails within 1 business day is kind of the baseline of professional reliability.
Yeah.
But, I mean, the reality of corporate life is that sometimes you just don't have the answer within 24 hours. Like, if a client asks for a complex data pull, it might take a week to actually gather that info.
Which is where a lot of professionals stumble. They just leave the email unread until they have the full solution.
And that leaves the sender completely in the dark.
Which creates immense anxiety for the sender. That is exactly why the rule is to acknowledge, not necessarily to resolve.
Okay, unpack that.
The goal is to just close the anxiety loop. A brief reply stating, I've received your request. I need to pull the data from 3 different departments, so I will have a complete answer for you by next Wednesday. Works wonders.
Right. It stops them from wondering if your email just went straight into a black hole.
Exactly. It reassures the sender, it builds trust in your organizational skills, and it explicitly buys you the time you need without them chasing you down for updates every day.
Now, we can't talk about inbox etiquette without addressing the elephant in the room. The absolute bane of corporate existence. The reply all trap.
Oh, it is the ultimate tragedy of the commons in the digital workplace.
It really is. It always starts so innocently.
Yeah.
Someone sends a department-wide email to 50 people saying, hey, please send me your dietary restrictions for the offsite retreat.
And then someone hits reply all to say, I'm gluten-free.
Yes. Suddenly, 49 people get a totally irrelevant notification, and then someone else replies all to say, no dietary restrictions here.
And before you know it, the entire department's productivity is derailed by a cascade of completely useless alerts.
It's madness. Why do we do this?
It's a classic example of the dopamine hit, of clearing a task, blinding us to the collective cost. It feels efficient to just hit the easiest button, reply all, to get the email out of your inbox and off your plate. But if you calculate the lost focus, 49 people stopping their work, reading the email, realizing it's irrelevant, and then trying to regain their train of thought.
Wow. Yeah.
That one lazy click just cost the company measurable hours of productivity.
So what's the hard rule here?
The rule is absolute. Only use reply all if your response materially changes the actions or the understanding of every single person on that thread. If it doesn't, restrict your reply strictly to the sender.
Protect the collective focus. I love that. All right, I want to move into something a bit more intense as we near the end of our deep dive.
Let's do it.
We've talked about politeness, formatting, and reducing friction. But what happens when things get inherently volatile? The research brings up the concept of emotional emails, or what we all universally recognize as the angry email.
This is where true professionalism is actually tested. It's easy to be polite when a project is under budget and ahead of schedule. The real test is how you communicate when a vendor completely drops the ball, or a colleague throws you under the bus in a big meeting.
And the standard advice is always, do not send emails while angry. But let's be honest about the psychology here.
It's hard?
It feels incredibly satisfying, almost intoxicating, to draft a fiery, righteous response when you've been wronged. If someone accuses me of a failure that was actually their fault, my immediate instinct is to fire back with a timeline, screenshots, and an aggressive defense. I mean, why shouldn't I clear my name immediately?
Because when you are in that heightened state of anger, you are experiencing an amygdala hijack. Your brain is essentially in a fight-or-flight state.
Okay, so biology is working against me.
Completely. You are reacting to a perceived threat, which means your brain is prioritizing short-term self-defense over the long-term strategic outcome.
So I'm just trying to win the argument, not actually solve the problem.
Exactly. And in written form, a fight-or-flight reaction almost always reads as irrational, petty, or unhinged to an outside observer.
That makes sense.
The real danger of the angry email is that once you hit send, You have created a permanent, searchable, forwardable liability. You lose control of the narrative the literal second it leaves your outbox.
A forwardable liability. That phrase should terrify anyone listening because it can be sent to HR, to your boss, or directly to the client.
Without context.
Right. So how do we actually process that biological urge to fight back without destroying our careers in the process?
The source material suggests a cool-down protocol, which is brilliant because it honors the psychology of anger while protecting your reputation.
Walk me through the protocol.
The protocol is write the email. Let all your frustration, your sarcasm, your righteous indignation out. Type it all up.
Wait, really? Write it all out?
Yes. But, and this is the absolute most crucial part, leave the to field entirely blank.
Do not put an email address in there.
Never. Never put an email address in the recipient line while drafting an emotional response. Just let the draft folder be your digital punching bag.
I see. So you get the cathartic biological release of expressing the anger.
Exactly. Then you close the laptop. You let the cortisol clear your system overnight. When you open that draft the next morning with a regulated nervous system, I guarantee you will almost universally cringe at what you wrote.
Because the emotion has faded and you're just left staring at the raw, aggressive text.
Precisely. Then you edit. You strip away every single adjective, every piece of sarcasm, and every emotional accusation. You reduce the email strictly to verifiable facts and propose solutions.
Emotion escalates conflict. Facts resolve it. That is profound advice.
It really is a career saver.
To really cement how all these psychological and structural elements come together, let's look at the real-life contrast provided in our research.
Sure.
First, we have a follow-up email that basically ignores every rule we've discussed today.
Okay, lay it on me.
The subject is just, "Hi," and the body says, "Hi, need the file ASAP, thanks."
It's almost painful to hear. It fails on every single level.
Break it down for us.
Well, the subject line requires triage. The greeting is informal. It uses text speak with ASAP. The tone is incredibly demanding, which triggers defensiveness. It is just a complete failure of the digital handshake.
Now, contrast that with Aman's request for the exact same file in the source material.
Let's hear Aman's version.
Subject, request for updated training module. Then, good afternoon, Rahul. Could you please share the latest version of the training module by 4:00 p.m. today? We need it for the client review meeting. Please let me know if you need any clarification. Best regards, Aman.
Look at how frictionless that is.
It's beautiful.
The subject line allows for instant prioritization. The professional greeting establishes respect. It uses the rule of three to deliver the context, a clear deadline, and a polite closing.
But notice the psychological masterstroke in Aman's email. It explains why the file is needed. We need it for the client review meeting.
Yes. This transforms the request from a bossy demand into a shared collaborative goal.
It creates alignment. It's brilliant.
It really is the perfect email.
Well, as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to synthesize everything we've covered today into a quick philosophical checklist.
I think that's a great idea.
Before you hit send on your next critical email, don't just check for typos. Ask yourself these questions. Did I eliminate the cognitive load with a precise subject line? Did I establish the right social boundary with my greeting? Is the structure clean enough to be read in 10 seconds?
Love that.
Did I use politeness to prevent future friction? Does my file name show respect for the recipient's organization? And finally, if I'm upset, have I stripped the emotion out and left only the facts?
If you approach your inbox with that level of intentionality, you aren't just sending messages anymore. You are actively managing your career trajectory.
That's the big takeaway, isn't it?
The foundational concept here is from the source material. Your email speaks for you before you do.
Wow.
Every single message is a micro resume. It demonstrates your clarity of thought, your emotional intelligence, and your professional reliability.
Your email speaks for you before you do. That perfectly encapsulates the stakes here. So I want to leave you, the listener, with a final challenge to mull over today.
A little homework.
Just a little. Sometime today, open up your set folder. Look critically at the last 5 emails you sent to your team or your clients.
Be honest with yourself.
Right. If those 5 emails were a literal, physical, digital handshake, what did they feel like? Did you offer your colleagues a firm, confident, respectful grip? Or did you stumble into the room and offer a sloppy, confusing high five?
That's a powerful visual.
Think about the signal you are broadcasting and start engineering your emails to work for your reputation starting right now.
Couldn't agree more.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Keep learning, keep refining, and we will catch you next time.